Well, hello everyone and happy Friday. It is digital host A.J. Wuest welcoming you back to today's shorter version of Before the Four, the live stream where I talk about some of 48's top news stories and then some before our 4 o'clock newscast. As always, whether you're watching the stream on YouTube, Facebook, or the 48 Now live stream, thank you so much for watching and spending just a little bit of your Friday afternoon here. But now let's begin in Huntsville, where a man has now been charged following a shooting that left his mother and sister injured on Countess Road. Huntsville police say around 6 last night, officers responded to the road for a report of a possible shooting in progress. Upon arrival, they found 2 women with gunshot wounds. After an initial investigation, police believe the suspect ran away on foot shortly after the shooting. Authorities then said officers deployed a K-9 unit to find the suspect, but were unsuccessful. According to HMZ spokesperson Don Webster, both victims were transported to Huntsville Hospital and they're both expected to be okay. Investigators later determined that Randy Keith, that's who you're seeing on screen, was arguing with family members at the residence. The dispute escalated when Keith pulled out a gun and began shooting, hitting both his mother and sister. Police say Keith voluntarily turned himself into the Madison County Jail this morning. Keith is charged with domestic violence, aggravated assault, and discharging a firearm into an occupied building or dwelling. He is being held on a $30,000 bond. Now, this case remains under active investigation. But now in Madison County, the sheriff's office is seeking the public's assistance in locating a man involved in a road rage incident. Now, this, of course, happened earlier this month. Officials say the incident happened on February 8th at 9 a.m. at the intersection of Joe Quick Road and Highway 231 in Hazel Green. They say a gun was drawn during the incident, which was captured on surveillance. Deputies are working to identify the man and the vehicle used in the incident. And if you have any information, please contact Detective Todd Louder at 256-533-5881. But now let's turn over to a story in case you missed it. The state of Alabama is joining 16 other states in filing a lawsuit over 504 plans. 48's Callie Nee spoke with some residents concerned over what the lawsuit means. Take a listen.
One mother told me that her son's 504 plan is essential, and this lawsuit should not even be up for discussion.
Of all things that our state could go after, why would it be something like this?
Amanda Porter is a mother of a student who benefits from a 504 plan. She told me when she first saw the lawsuit, she was angry and confused.
I have not seen it in a long time that they care about kids the way that they say that they care about them, because if there is care there, this is one of those things that should not even be up for discussion.
17 attorney generals are asking for a reversal in a Biden-era rule that defines gender dysphoria as a disability. Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall says this is all he is looking at changing in this case. However, this still raises concern for parents who are worried this may affect their children. Porter says it's the parents' duty to stand up and speak out to ensure the next generation is supported properly throughout school.
You have to stand up, not just you as a parent, but you as just a member of society, because we are only as good as our next generation.
I reached out to the state attorney general's office for further comment, and officials tell me that this has never been about restricting 504 plans, but to protect funding for schools that refuse to cater to transgender students. Reporting in Huntsville, Callie Nee, 48 News, on your side.
Well, yesterday, a Morgan County man was found guilty of murder in connection to a deadly 2019 wreck that claimed the life of a 19-year-old. 48's Nick Ballinger tells us more about the verdict.
After nearly 6 years, the Howard family finally has justice.
We feel very vindicated. We're very happy with this.
The justice for Diane and Andy Howard comes from a guilty verdict for this man, Rayford Williams III, who is now convicted of murder after a head-on collision that killed their 19-year-old son, Troy Howard, in 2019.
We got the justice that Troy deserves.
It's still bittersweet because, Troy's not with us, but we feel that justice has been served.
Howard was on his way home from work, exiting off I-565 at County Line Road when Williams turned down the ramp in the wrong direction, hitting Howard head on. Howard died after weeks of being on life support. A blood test showed Williams had been drinking that night. He was already convicted of 2 DUIs before this tragedy. Williams even turned down 2 separate plea deals in this case.
It was like nails on a chalkboard. It was very, very nerve-wracking.
But when the guilty verdict came down, the Howard family rejoiced and remembered who their Troy was.
The first thing that comes to my mind is he was the baby and he knew it. Baby Troy. That he was baby Troy. He was a sweet child.
Good brother, good uncle, good cousin, good grandson, just a good person right at the jumping off of life.
And now in the Shoals, where yesterday we learned that a local music shop was robbed. The suspects taking 6 different instruments, including a customer's banjo. 48's Faith Delp with the details.
Sound shop owner Daryl Triplett is out about $3,000 after 6 instruments were taken from his store last night during a break-in. Triplett has owned the sound shop for 38 years. This is the 3rd time someone has broken into his store, but he says he learned the first time not to keep cash in the drawer. He says it's obvious that is what the thieves were after at first, but when they couldn't find any, he says they stole these 7 instruments. 5 guitars, a violin, and a banjo. The worst part, he says, is the banjo and violin were both being repaired for clients. While it has been a tough day, Triplett says he is confident the thieves will be found. He says he has already heard from a store owner in Savannah, Tennessee, who believes a tall man with red hair tried to sell 3 of the stolen instruments to him.
In this incident, since they grabbed so many instruments, I think they might have been a team effort. So I don't know, I'm not a detective, but I feel pretty confident they're going to figure out, who it was.
He also says the Florence Police Department took fingerprints, footprints, and surveillance video. If you need to see those instruments again, you can see still pictures on our website, WAFF.com. Triplett is asking if anyone has information to call the police. Reporting in Florence, Faith Delp, 48 News, on your side.
And a happy update to that story. Today we learned that the banjo and its owner were reunited. The banjo, a Washburn B16, certainly very pricey, and I certainly know he is happy to have it back. But that is a good little update there for you all. But now check this out. Recently, fellow digital host Tatiana White spoke with 2 Huntsville artists at Low Mill who were chosen out of one of 1,000 applicants to construct a 9-foot-tall statue of Martin Luther King Jr. Once finished, the statue will stand at Florida's Winter Park. Take a listen to what the artists, Andrew Louie and Ann Muller, had to say about the statue.
And the 9 feet, the 9 foot was done on purpose because his personality was so over the top and so humongous. We wanted to capture that feeling in a physical sense. So we could have gone with his, actual size, but we wanted something grand, like his personality.
Yes. And are there any personal stories that you all have, like just from creating it? Because I know working on a project for this long, like, is there anything personal that you took from it that really just still sticks with you in the future that's going to stick with you after creating such a big project?
Well, so for me, it was really a meaningful connection to my history with my mother. She actually marched in
oh, wow. Oh my gosh,
the civil rights
so
movement, and she's passed now, and so it helps continue my connection with her, feeling like I'm starting, able to do something to continue her efforts and her voice forward. So I could feel her presence with that, and with all the discussions and every conversations with all the conversations with people that came into the studio, I could feel that pride and warmth in that message, and something about the way that Andrew designed this piece. He's very much in all of his work, very interested in movement. But his gesture, you know, not only is Dr. King larger than life, he's got this warmth in his greeting. And so when you're sitting there, you know, working up close, you feel like a connection to the person, you know, surrounded by 100 different images all being combined. You know, you feel like you're there with someone. And, you know, his pose that he chose is this warm greeting gesture, you know, and he's holding a book that, you know, because he's both a spiritual man and a scholar, so you can take from it what you want there. I don't know, you could feel the warmth and the idea of it as you're working, that you hold that in your heart.
Yes, and you can find that full 48 Now interview with more details right now on our website. Just go to WAFF.com, digital shows, and then 48 Now. But yes, shout out to digital host Tatiana White. She is new here. You will be seeing a lot more of her moving forward, that is for sure. But of course, if you're looking to hear a free concert, completely free of charge, head on out to the Electric Bell here in Huntsville and come to the 25-year anniversary celebration of the Zooks. From the Marshall Islands to the Rocket City, it's a reunion show for the entire group. And I recently spoke with original band members Randy Razook and Billy D. Take a listen to what they had to say about Friday's free show.
We're going to do at least one original with Ray, who is, he can still sing, so he'll be joining us on stage to sing one of our originals, and then we'll be doing all of the old tunes that the Quad people like to hear. This is also going to be a mini Quad reunion, so there's a lot of people from Kwajalein that we knew on Quads that love the Zooks, and they're going to be here also. And another point of interest was like 25 years ago when we were on Kwajalein, we were asked by the Armed Forces Radio and Television Station to do an interview as one of the up-and-coming bands in the Marshall Islands. And so we had Mr. Rich Fagler, who was the DJ at the time, interviewed both me and Billy at the radio station on Kwajalein 25 years ago. And now here we are 25 years later, me and Billy again, and Rich Fagler is going to drive up from Florida so he can be at the reunion. So we'll all be together again 25 years later.
That's right, the Electric Bell, the Zooks, you're just not going to want to miss it. It's free. There's a silent auction there. Proceeds will go towards a good cause. It's a win-win for the entire family, so come on out to the Electric Bell. Now let's head into the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscasts. More details on the wrongful death lawsuit filed by Catrella Perkins for the shooting death of Steve Perkins. 48's Faith Delp will have more on that situation coming up. Madison County deputies on the lookout for that road rage suspect get more details. And finally, a former Huntsville police officer claiming he was wrongfully fired from his role. And these are just a few of the stories you're just not going to want to miss coming up in our evening newscast. And y'all, that is just about all the time I have for today's shorter version of Before the Four. Thank you all for sticking around and spending just a little bit of your Friday afternoon here. I hope you all have a great weekend. Stay safe out there. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You all have a great night.